welcome to AP on Play. Thanks for tuning in today. We have a very special guest, Andy Levin. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, Anjali. Good to see you.
Thank you for coming. Andy, I have you down as a movement organizer, human rights activist, and green energy guy. But I don't really know how to introduce yourself. If you had to introduce yourself, what would you say?
Wow. Well, I'm somebody who lives in Bloomfield Township with my wife, Mary. Now all of our kids have flown the coop. We're new empty nesters. That's probably my biggest thing in life, actually.
Sad.
Sad, but, you know,
Sad.
it's great. And I've devoted my life to sort of trying to make the world a better place in ways that I thought were important. I most recently served for 4 years in the U.S. Congress representing some of Oakland and Macomb counties. Before that, I created a clean energy startup company. And before that, I served in the state government. I've served in the U.S. Department of Labor. I was a staff attorney for a presidential commission. I've helped workers form unions for a better life and started nonprofits. So I've just had actually a great time, Anjali, working on a really wide range of issues that I think needed to be addressed, I guess.
Basically, you've devoted your life, I think, to public service and advocating for the people.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I love to do. So
Let's start with, well, there's so much I want to talk to you about, but we were talking off camera about your energy, about, is it the Lean and Green Michigan?
Yes, yes.
So let's start right there, because I think our viewers, my idea was to have you come on the show, talk about some of your projects, and viewers, I hope something Andy says today is interesting to you, and it motivates you to kind of get off your sofa and into the community and become engaged and active. And Andy and I were talking about his energy projects off camera, so I'd like to start there.
Sure. Well, you know, I started Lean and Green Michigan in the early teens, I guess. I had been in the Granholm administration. I was the last person running what was called the Department of Energy,
Right.
Labor, and Economic Growth. And at that time, right at the last month of the administration, we passed something called PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy. It was bipartisan, Anjali. The Republicans controlled the Senate. Randy Richardville was the Senate Majority Leader. He championed it. And what this new law did was allow counties or cities or townships like Bloomfield to do something with their property tax law to let businesses or nonprofits take a special assessment to secure financing so they could make their property more efficient. Anything that reduced water use, electricity, natural gas, or deployed renewable energy, they could finance in this new way. And actually, Bloomfield Township joined, along with 9, I think altogether, cities and townships in Oakland County. Very Democratic places, very Republican
Yes.
places. This whole thing is just a pure pro-business play to help companies save money by using renewable energy or using energy efficiency technology. You could think of new boilers, new chillers, tinted windows, white roof, green roof, solar, geothermal,
Right,
low
yes.
flush, low flow, anything that
anything.
saves money and energy and helps. My interest in it helps save the planet along the way. So it's good for the business and it's good for, everybody if we use less energy or use renewable energy.
And you said Bloomfield Township recently joined.
No, a long time ago.
Oh.
It was, it was, I would guess, in maybe 2015. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
But, we had Rochester Hills, Ferndale, Royal Oak, Troy, Orion Township, and Bloomfield Township. And we had projects early on in those years in the teens, like Heller Manufacturing in Troy used it, I remember, and a distributor in Orion Township, and we had a bunch of projects in the suburbs, and now it's just exploding. I mean, we have, I think, 58 local governments in Michigan covering 75% of Michiganders are part of this Lean and Green Michigan statewide market, and I think we've done something like 200 and $60 million or $270 million of financing. All of it, each one is just some business, somebody wanting to build. Now we do new construction too. So a lot of it, if people are building a new hotel or any kind of building, a warehouse, a factory, an office building, or if they have one that's older, that's not very efficient, as most of them aren't.
Right.
And then we help them finance retrofitting that building. You can do a gut rehab. So a lot of people who watch this are probably, might be involved in real estate.
Yes.
Even if you're like a doctor and you own your, 60,000 square foot building, your practice is there and there's 10 other doctors there, right?
Yeah.
And you might be sick of paying really high electric and gas bills. Well, you can, and let's say you're going to retire in 5 years, you can make your building super efficient, and then you can make it more attractive for sale too, because it's a lot easier to sell an updated building that is very efficient.
Yes. So who are your holdouts, I have to ask, because shouldn't everybody be behind clean energy?
Well, you mean which governments aren't
Yes.
in? I mean, you know what the truth is, Anjali, that a government joins when a company wants to do a project, typically.
Okay.
So if you're out there in some part of the beautiful state of Michigan and you, like Treetops Resort did a project. A lot of people might know that place.
I was just there 3 days ago with my son.
Wow, nice. Okay.
So they did a project?
Otsego County, right? Near Gaylord.
Yes.
Okay. Otsego County, like the county government people aren't sitting there thinking, what program should I join, right?
Right.
But you, the owner of Treetops, go to me, like the county, whatever they have there, county commissioner that's your friend or something, and you say, yo, I want to fix up this place. It's been around a while. It's inefficient, but I need you to join this program. So that's how counties or cities or townships tend to join.
And what did Treetops do, pray tell?
Oh, they did a lot of things. I think they did lighting, LED lighting.
Okay.
They did definitely new heating and cooling systems. I mean, anybody who's been there, it's like a wonderful place that's more like a vintage place. It's not like it was built yesterday,
Very
right?
vintage,
Right.
yes.
So they have, lodges and restaurants
Yes.
and rooms that are older, and they made them all much more efficient with lighting. I think they did some plumbing work and heating and cooling.
So once the business wants to get on board, then the county would join.
Typically, that's a lot of the way it happens.
Okay.
And that says a lot about Lean and Green Michigan. We're really just there to help businesses and nonprofits be more efficient and save money. So the role of government is very limited. They have to be part of it or it can't happen. But what are they actually doing? Let's say Bloomfield Township. How many tax bills do you think are on the rolls of Bloomfield Township, right? Every house,
Yeah.
every business, right? Every building, right, has a little property tax bill. All this is doing is modifying, let's say a jurisdiction has 30,000 tax bills. I don't know. What happens when a project goes through in PACE is one property is putting a special, or the county or the township is putting a special assessment on one of its 30,000 tax bills. So the role of government is actually very small, but without it, this can't happen. And,
Right.
And when you do that, why this is important is, let's say a resort does a $2 million project to redo their energy systems, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to borrow the $2 million from a lender. And the reason this is magic is now Otsego County or Bloomfield Township, any local government, has put a special assessment for $2 million on that building. That means that the owner's payment on the $2 million loan back to the lender, legally speaking, technically speaking, it's a tax payment. That is secure for the lender, right? Because if you don't pay your taxes, the county sheriff comes and takes away your
Yes.
hotel or office building, right? So the lender will now lend you money. You're a business, right? But they'll lend you money as if it was a home mortgage. They'll lend you money at a fixed interest rate for 20 or 25 years. And that means that the project cash flows. That means you're going to save more in energy than you're paying on the loan every month or every year.
Right.
And so it's great for you. The lender makes their little interest. The contractor gets the work and makes the money. Everybody makes money.
Everybody's happy.
And everybody's happy. And that's why it's such a great play. And that's a good lesson for everybody, that good public policy is necessary for capitalism, for markets. this is a little market imperfection.
And a little bit of government involvement is okay.
It's a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
smart. Where it's
Yes,
smart. It
yes.
can be stupid, then it's not a good thing under any circumstances.
It can
But
often be stupid.
Yeah, but where it's smart,
Yes.
it really helps.
Yes.
And this is, I think, that's why I love this. I was like, wow, whoever dreamed this up was really smart.
Yeah, this
And it's
is a
good
really
idea.
cool one. And this is Lean and Green Michigan.
Yeah, anybody can actually Google it.
Yes.
Lean and Green Michigan. It'll come up, and we're an open market.
Yeah.
So anybody who's watching who's a contractor, you can do projects. Anyone who's a property owner, you can do you could do projects on the buildings you own or
Right.
on the building you're building.
I think I'll segue into the uncommitted movement.
Yeah,
Michigan
yeah.
Uncommitted. And I have to tell you, my son is a 10th grader, and I picked him up from school a few months ago, and he told me all about this uncommitted movement. He said, Mom, people are going to go and vote in the primary, and they're not going to vote for anybody. They're going to vote uncommitted. And I said, you are crazy. Nobody's getting off their sofa to go to the voting booth and vote uncommitted. It'll never happen. Boy, was I wrong. 100,000 votes, I think you got.
Yes, over 100,000. Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't you explain the uncommitted movement,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to ask you some questions.
Sure. Well, so first of all, the thing that people have to realize is this is a presidential primary, right? And so what are the mechanics of presidential elections? We actually, when we're voting in a primary, we're voting for delegates who are going to go to that. So if you're a Democrat, you're voting for Democratic delegates. If you're a Republican, you're voting for Republican delegates. And they're going to go to the convention, like the Democrats are in, I think, Chicago, and the Republicans maybe in Milwaukee or
I
something.
think, yeah.
So and so the people who came up with this idea said, well, we are so mad at President Biden about this war in Gaza, and the U.S. is funding it, and so we're involved, and we give more aid to Israel than we give to any other country, and we give this specifically military aid, like the 2,000-pound bombs that are being dropped on civilians, So people were very upset. So, but they didn't want to support a third party. These are Democratic primary voters. There's no confusion. It's not like they're going to go vote for Donald Trump.
Right.
But they wanted to send a message. So what better way than to go out and, just as you say, this is what I said to everybody, Anjali. If you're mad at the president, if you are fuming, don't sit at home. Don't, have like in a cartoon, the smoke coming out of your ears, right? Because you're so mad. Go and tell them. This is what democracy is. Go out there to your polling place and vote uncommitted. It's a beautiful thing because the Michigan primary was February 27th. The general election's November 5th.
Yes.
That's over 8 months. You are sending him a message that he has time to hear, that you need him to change course on Gaza. And, not only did we get over 100,000 votes in Michigan, 13%.
2 delegates, I think.
We got delegates, but it has spread to Minnesota, Hawaii,
Yes.
Washington State, and Wisconsin is on today or one of these two next week, I think. Anyway, it's on a Tuesday soon, and there will be some uncommitted there. So I think
How is the idea? This is a wild idea, and I want to know, how was it conceived? I mean, were you guys in the room saying, how can we send a message to, how did this come about?
Well, so I was both involved and not involved.
Okay.
So I'll explain it. I mean, in early December, not related to this, uncommitted hadn't been dreamed up yet, right? But in early December, I was getting a lot of phone calls from numbers I didn't recognize. And you know how you just don't answer, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be some scam thing or some marketing nonsense, right? And then I got a call from someone who left a voicemail. And I don't know if the person's public, so I'm not going to say who it was, but they're a labor law professor. I looked them up, and they're a professor at one of our major law schools in the United States who teaches labor law. Okay, that's people that I know.
Yeah.
They're more junior professor. They haven't been doing it that long. But, I write labor law reviews, articles on labor law, and I've, I was the staff attorney for President Clinton's
Yes.
commission on this. I follow this issue. So I'm like, oh, I'm calling that person
You know
back.
a little bit about labor law.
Well, but I'm calling the person back, right? And so I called them and they said, well, all these calls are related that you're getting, and they're because we need you to run for president of the United States.
Oh.
Anjali, I still can't say this without cracking up because I really thought it was hilarious. I mean, this is not something I had been thinking
Yes,
about, right?
yeah.
Obviously. And I think it's ridiculous. I mean,
This is 3 months ago?
it was
December?
in December, yeah.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Anyway, but the reason I'm telling you this is, why did they want me to do this, right?
Yeah.
And they said, look, you're from Michigan, A. You're a labor person who's, strong with workers and the labor movement, B. You've been committed to both Israel's security and justice for the Palestinians, for a long time. And in fact, in Congress, you took a lot of crap for it, if I can use that word.
I remember.
And also, we need to send the president a message about that we don't think he can win if he doesn't change course. And I said, look, I totally agree with you on everything except the part about me running for president, because I'm not doing that, and that's not realistic, And they didn't think I could win, Anjali. They thought, okay, this would be a good protest thing. Okay,
Yes,
so that I said no, and then they cast around. In New Hampshire, they've had people try to write in something, and that wasn't really practical.
Right.
And then when it came to Michigan, they realized, oh, we can have people vote uncommitted, and that's the best way. So I was involved, but I didn't conceive of the uncommitted part. I was just an earlier idea of theirs.
I get it.
But when they
Okay.
came up with the uncommitted thing, they said to me, look, you are a Jewish former member of Congress who supports Israel, and yet you also support the Palestinians. And in fact, something that should be obvious, which is the only hope for a secure homeland for my people is to actually realize the political and human rights of the Palestinian people. There's 7 million Jews, there's 7 million Palestinians all living on the land, right?
Right.
None of them are going anywhere.
Right.
They need to learn to live together in peace. And the U.S., I'm going to be honest, for the 2 Republican and 2 Democratic presidencies, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden's first 4 years, we dropped that ball that we had carried. Jimmy Carter, right, and the Camp David Accords,
Right.
Bill Clinton, right, Dwight Eisenhower was, from really Eisenhower on, U.S. presidents cajoled. We were both Israel's best support, but also an honest broker that said, you Palestinians and Jews have to live together. We have to figure this out. I feel like we've dropped the ball. I refuse to put the ball down. And, and right wingers on Israel came after me, in my last election over that. But that's okay, because I'm going to do what I believe in. And, I feel good about it.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing. The uncommitted movement captured, and I love your story. I love your story because,
son?
because
Yes.
guess what? Is this about Palestinian American and Arab Americans? Yes. And Michigan's the most densely Arab American state of all 50. And I hope we're all really proud of that. It's an amazing thing
Yeah.
here, right? The food, the culture, and the people. But we also have a lot of other Muslims, right? From
Yeah.
South Asia and other places. We have a lot of progressive Jewish people. We have a lot of progressives in general, and young people who are upset about this issue. So your child may be a non-voter yet, too young.
Yeah.
But places with a lot of college voters voted disproportionately uncommitted.
I saw that,
Ann Arbor,
yes,
East Lansing,
yes,
et cetera. So this is a
yes.
movement of young people against war.
Well,
really.
my story actually gets better because a few weeks later, we got a call.
Oh,
And it was from the Uncommitted campaign.
wow.
And normally I hang up like you. I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to anybody. But my kid was in the room and it was on speaker. And she said, we're from, is it Uncommitted Michigan? Is
Listen to Michigan.
Okay,
the
she said,
Listen to Michigan
we're
campaign.
from the Listen to Michigan campaign.
Okay.
And he said, stay on the line. So
Is this the same 10th grader?
the same 10th grader.
Okay.
So he started feeding me questions to ask her. And they had a really intelligent dialogue about this movement. So that's
He
so
was
your
teaching
movement
Mom.
worked. Yes.
I mean, don't we
He
learn
was
from our kids?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, my kids, I just don't get me started. They're so much smarter than us, Anjali.
But he's probably your target, like you said, a little younger than your target audience.
Well,
But
so it's not. So I want to flip it on you though in this way. I didn't do this because I'm trying to persuade people of something. The only people I'm trying to persuade are the president of the United States and his campaign that they have to listen to Michigan, or they have to realize something. I can't figure out the electoral college math without putting Michigan on their side.
Yes.
Our electoral college. So you got to win. So Joe Biden has to win Michigan. And here's the kicker, Anjali, about the Listen to Michigan campaign. I don't think he can win Michigan without actually changing policy on the Israel-Palestine situation. I just think this isn't, people have such strong feelings about many issues, right? Guns and reproductive rights and all these different issues we have in America, right?
Sure.
War, when you and I are college students and our Palestinian friends, cousins are all dead, we're all freaking out. Right? Their families die. It's a war, and it's so many civilians being killed, right? Like, let me just give you one example. In 2022, just under 3,000 children died in all wars in the world. In Gaza, 12,500 children died in 5 months. I mean, this is
Right.
not okay.
Well, what is
So that's why, and I think we're starting to see a little bit the president's changing.
Well, this is what I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you. What's part 2 of the Listen to Michigan campaign? What has happened? It's been very successful. The uncommitted vote was enormously successful. What has happened in response to that, if anything?
Well, I don't think enough,
Okay.
but I think it's starting. So the president, his own rhetoric has changed. I thought the vice president's speech in Selma, Alabama, really broke through.
Mm-hmm.
The press reported that the White House had clipped back the word she used, actually.
Yeah.
But her emotion came through, right? It was very clear. And then the most senior Jewish member of the government in America, the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, gave a really historic speech about this. So we need to see actual ceasefire.
Yes.
We need to see actually that the U.S. says, well, Israel, we're going to keep giving you Iron Dome. We're going to make sure you have your defensive weapons. We want to be sure you're secure, but we're actually not going to give you offensive weapons to prosecute a war in this way. We're now in a situation where almost 2 million people are at risk of starvation. I mean, we're getting to the UN experts' highest level of famine. This is insane. So we need to continue to see more change. And, here's
You have seen
the beginning of movement.
Yes,
The beginning
exactly,
of movement.
The beginning of movement.
And
yes.
I think
Yes.
that I feel, and here's the thing, for anybody who says, and if Democrats say, Andy, I'm mad at you because you're getting people to vote against Biden, I say, no, you don't understand. These people were just going to sit home.
These people were just going to sit home, and that is my respect for the movement, politics aside, is that I think, got 100,000 people off the sofa and in the voting booth, and that is cool.
That's because this isn't people who were going to come out and vote for Biden or anybody else.
Right.
They were just, and the thing is, it would be invisible, right?
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
all these Americans, all these voters, all these citizens who would have been invisible. The president literally wouldn't have gotten the message. And so this is democracy in action. And my hope as a partisan Democrat, is now enough of those people that the president will change course enough. And I really want him to change course because it's also the right thing to do. So it lines up for me, Anjali.
Yeah.
It lines up. What I want to see the president do, become a peacemaker. This most experienced foreign policy president, he was vice president during big things, and he participated in making foreign policy under President Obama. He was the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee forever. He knows this stuff. Step up and be a historic peacemaker. I think people will come back and vote for you in November. That's my message.
Well, at least there's a starting point.
Yes.
So we'll have to wait and see
We'll
what
wait
happens.
and see. Yeah.
Andy, what is the Center for American Progress? I saw you worked there for a while, or maybe
I'm there. Yeah, I have
Okay.
a fancy title. I'm Distinguished Senior Fellow.
I have that note.
Center for American Progress is, I guess you'd call it a think tank in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
It was started by John Podesta after Bill Clinton was president. After the end of the Clinton presidency, Podesta had been his chief of staff. And there's a very conservative think tank that Democrats were jealous of called the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, yes.
I believe it was sort of modeled on that. But anyway, it's a liberal / progressive think tank that tries to do research and policy development on the full spectrum of policy, domestic policy, foreign policy. So there are people there working on education, from pre-K to, from preschool to post-secondary and graduate education. There are people there who work on climate change and clean energy and environment.
Okay.
There are people there who work on the rule of law and democracy. And like I've worked with them on foreign policy. For example, just before I went there, they published a paper on, democratic backsliding isn't a problem just for like bad guys out there. It's a problem for friends of the United States, like Mexico, India, and Israel. So when I got there, I said, that's cool. I agree with that. And I helped them organize events about India and Israel. I helped them find the panelists, from the countries, and I think I gave opening remarks on the India event. So it's one of right now I'm doing like 4 or 5 different things that I'm really into. I'm having a great time actually post-Congress. And one of them is being there, and I really enjoy it. I go to Washington pretty much every month for some part of a week usually.
Yeah. But
I'm home a lot more, which I really appreciate.
Yes.
And I love being home in Bloomfield Township, and but I'm really enjoying my work at Center for American Progress.
I do want to close with Williams College, graduation gowns, factory was striking, and you led a boycott. Tell us what that was.
Okay, I was a sophomore at Williams College, and since I was like a troublemaker and an activist, like your son was talking about, the union, at the time it was called the International Ladies Garment Workers Union.
Okay.
It's changed.
Yeah.
Unions have merged since then, and the names have changed. But it's a historic union in this country. They had a cap and gown factory in Troy, New York, just across the Berkshire Mountains from Williamstown, that was founded by an alumnus of Williams 100 years earlier.
Okay.
And the workers were on strike. And they found me and they said, you have to, support this. So, this is the most important thing. Have fun in your activism. Be creative. So at that time, Anjali, streaking was big news in America. It was on the cover of Time magazine. If anybody doesn't know, that means running around naked in public, and it was like a fad in those days, in the late 70s, early 80s. So I wrote out this petition that said, we, the undersigned seniors, will go to our own graduation, our own commencement, disrobed, unless you change manufacturers, because we're not going to wear these struck robes, caps and gowns. So did disrobe mean like they just weren't going to wear their cap and gown, or did it mean they were going to streak? It was like cheeky.
Yeah.
But over half of the seniors signed this petition. And the administration was very mad at us, and they said, nothing to do with this immature thing you're doing, but for the first time in 100 years, we're not going to use these cap and gowns. So we succeeded in getting them to joined the boycott, whether they admitted it or not. And it's just like years later, at the end of my college time, we had a huge anti-apartheid movement at Williams. And we wanted our trustees to divest of stock in companies doing business in South Africa. Did we succeed? No, Anjali, we didn't. But we contributed our one little drop in the ocean of struggle that led to the downfall of apartheid. It was led by Black South African people, not by college students in Massachusetts,
Right.
But it's so important for everybody. We're here on this planet for a minute.
Yes.
Get out there and do something you believe in.
And,
Get off the couch.
Just move the meter
in business,
a little bit.
in social justice, whatever it is.
Well, thank you so much. We really
so
we
welcome.
appreciate your time. I'm grateful for the work you do. I know I can tell you firsthand you've been very inspiring to my young son, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
And audience, thanks for tuning in to AP on Play. We'll see you again next week.